Welcome to another edition of the Empower Hour. I am Al-Qamar.
And I'm Hanifah.
And we are your hosts each and every Wednesday from 2 to 3 p.m. right here on the eLife Studios, coming to you with impactful topics of discussion that affect our everyday lives. Today will be no different. Today we will be talking about celebrity culture. And in the studio with us today, we have our dear brother Vaughn. Welcome to the show.
Assalamu alaikum, sisters. How you doing?
Walaikum assalam, brother. And you are no stranger to the Empower Hour because we've had you on before.
And it was an honor and a pleasure then. It's an honor and pleasure now.
Yeah. So thank you for coming and helping us with this topic.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So celebrity culture.
Yes, ma'am.
And all that entails. What comes to mind when you hear that term, celebrity culture, for you?
For me, first, in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, Merciful, I bear witness there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger. I'd like to greet the audience of Assalamu alaikum. So we pray that Allah guide our words to influence with knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. So with that being said, answering your question, sister, celebrity. That's, in this day and age, let's go back a little bit. If we think about celebrity, once upon a time, we thought about those who use their influence to make change. Like Muhammad Ali, Arthur Ashe, you know, people like Jim Brown, you know, who took their influence when they seen a problem politically or social injustice, they took a stance. Today we see a little bit with Kaepernick, but when I think about celebrity, I always say, what are we celebrating? Okay, what is that person famous for? What did that person do to get to their fame? So, you know, I look at it as, you know, if you're in that position, what are you doing to help the people? Is it financial gain only? So if we chase the dollar, that means there's no moral standard to, you know, to your celebrityism. So I always say, when you say celebrity, who are you?
Right.
That's the question. Yes, ma'am.
Right.
No, go ahead.
And now I'm 45 years old.
Okay.
And I wonder.
Yeah.
I wonder if the culture of celebrityism, if that's even such a word,
Right.
is the same or was the same then when our grandparents were coming up than it is today for us. Meaning, like, you know, it's almost to a borderline worship type scenario for a lot of people when the celebrities come to mind. You know, we follow their every word.
Right.
You know, we see a celebrity on the street, and a lot of us get ecstatic.
Right.
You know, and can't contain ourselves.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, and they can do no wrong in certain people's eyes. And so I'm wondering, has it always been this type of culture? Or is this something new?
Well, you can look at it as, once upon a time, to be on TV was a big deal. I mean, you're not too far from age. To be on TV was a big thing. You know, when somebody actually was on a primetime television, it's like, wow, they made it, you know, an influence.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? You know, what makes them so important that they have our own program, their own television program.
Right.
You fast forward a little bit today, the internet gives a lot of instant celebrities just because of the access that we have now off of social media. So that's why when we mentioned earlier, celebrities have to have a sense of responsibility because they have a form of influence. So you have responsible influence and irresponsible influence. And we kind of see a lot of irresponsible influence today, that people use their fame, power, and their ability to manipulate minds in the wrong sense.
Yeah.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
What about our responsibility as the viewers, as the people watching these people? I mean, do we have a certain responsibility as it relates to, you know, how we perceive them or what we expect from them?
Right. Well, I believe that depends on what our standards are. You know, if you have a certain high standard of certain behavior, you have civilized and uncivilized. So the mission of the civilized is to teach the uncivilized, you know, knowledge of self. And I think a lot of us that lack knowledge of self would find it easy to be influenced very easily.
I'm glad you brought that up.
And if you look at even those who choose to do, how can I say this, for example, let's look at the TV shows that we watch today, such as Love and Hip Hop.
Okay.
Okay. You know, hip hop once upon a time, you know, used to have influence to do positive things.
True.
Now it's, you know, to make it drama, disrespectful. You know, people are constantly fighting with one another. There's nothing constructive come out of it. And you look at the young minds that's influencing that. So if I'm a young person that doesn't have any structure at home, my mom's not guiding me, my father's not guiding me, and I'm watching that, I see somebody famous, especially hip hop, which has a strong influence, and then a young lady seeing that, well, for me to make it, I gotta be half dressed to some degree, or I gotta speak in vulgar language. You know what I'm saying? I gotta be disrespectful where I can't have a disagreement without wanting to fight or throw water on my sister, or be in another man's face because you disagree with him. And it's all by design. It's not think that this is not done. You know what I'm saying? It's done by intentions to create a certain mindset. You know what I'm saying? To put a certain influence, certain stigma on a group of people. You know what I'm saying? To make them behave a certain way for a reason. So that's why I look at it that way, sister.
I think when you just mentioned the knowledge of self piece, I think that's definitely significant as far as the response that we give to celebrity. I also think that is definitely significant as far as celebrities are concerned. I think what we're seeing is a lack of self-knowledge with a lot of these kids, you know, these people, men and women, are coming from certain backgrounds, and you know, whether their drive was money, for the most part, most of them are coming from poverty, right? So the drive more than likely is money. So there was no knowledge of self involved, and so when we see them get a certain platform, that's really what we're seeing manifested, is that someone failed to teach you who you are. You know, and we're talking about 20, 21-year-olds. These are people who are influencing that generation, younger teenagers, these rap artists, you know, that these teenagers look up to. You look at some of their lyrics, and some of them, they talk about, there's a lot of colorism involved in their lyrics. What is that doing to our young girls? And what is it doing to the minds of our young boys? And we see it because I've seen many clips where you have very young rappers saying, you know, I don't want any woman my complexion, and this might be a dark-skinned brother talking, right? So that's the influence, and that's what we're seeing. You know, we're seeing the bleaching. You know, we're seeing young girls wishing to have a certain figure at a very young age. You're still developing, but you're focused on having a big rump, and all of this is because the people who are feeding the information lack knowledge of self. So we have a double whammy going on. Somebody leading who have no knowledge of self, and then the followers and knowledge of self. My question then becomes, should we be having celebrities considering that information and knowing that and seeing who has the influence today, not like former days? Should we be, are the expectations of them possibly too high? Should we just keep them in their lane where a basketball player, we should just expect them to play basketball, and entertainer, just expect entertainment from them, nothing more, nothing less? Should we do that? Or are we holding them to this standard because as black people, we're a minority in this country?
Well, I look at it this way, sister. Always follow the dollar. Follow the dollar. That's, you know, certain behavior doesn't be put out there unless they do a test drive first. Just like when you have television programs, music, what is that influence? We have a private prison population that has to fill jail cells. So you got to feed violence. Guns got to make money, so you have a lot of gun violence. They're not going to stop that. Okay, you know that you have certain women that they feel a certain way about themselves. So plastic surgery's got to make money. You're saying, so everybody has to make money.
Everything is connected.
It's connected. So they don't care about moral standards so long as the money's come. Look at the ratings. I say this is why we have these shows that we have. You say, what person would actually sit there and watch it, but they don't want to go by, hey, the ratings are high, this is what the people want.
That's what I was going to say. There are teams of people who are testing these things out, by the way. There's like a test run that has to happen, and they're looking for the response. And what's sad is they get probably above and beyond the response they expected. So it says a lot about our society.
Even the fashion industry. I'm talking when you go down the list of all the people who are involved economically and the determinations of what goes on on those television sets. Even the fashion industry, you know, that they have a certain look or style that they want to push. You know, they put key people, popular people in these fabrics, and they make a ton of money but just by doing that.
Well,
so.
you can look at it also by even on social media. They look at how many followers does this person have.
Yes.
So they look, okay, this person has 1 million people following them.
Yeah.
There's a conversation with those with deep pockets. Okay, you have 1 million followers. We need you to sell this product.
Yep.
So when you give them numbers, especially with somebody who never had that kind of money before, okay, they say, okay, I'll just do it. It's just business. That's how we hide it. It's just business. But they're not looking at the irresponsibility behind it's just business. So where's the moral standards at? People with moral standards would say, no, I can't do this. Like Muhammad Ali, for example. Okay, there's a moral standard to why he said I would not go to Vietnam.
That's right.
Because those people never called me nigger.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They never beat me or mistreat me. So why would I go fight a war that's unjust? So just imagine all of us took that stand and say that's unjust to my people. I know if I say my lyrics pertain violence or guns, I'm influencing another young brother. I can't do that.
I feel like in this industry, like just watching what's happening, I think that if you are a black man, black woman raising a son, a daughter, and they have some sort of talent or skill set that you probably feel is going to take them far in life, I think it's imperative that you instill certain things in that child before you send them out into that world in that capacity, because there's going to be so much temptation when they go into that industry, so many things for them to compromise themselves, you know, and you can, like, most people can say whatever they want until they're in that seat. You know, like you said, the numbers come out. You're 20 years old, and they're showing you a check for $1 million if you do this. At 20 years old, I mean, think of the mind of a 20-year-old. Right? You're like, what? So there's some temptation there. I think even with the good ones, there's still some temptation. Sometimes you end up seeing them fall and compromise. I guess for me, it's sort of like, what is it that we need to make sure is happening? I feel like the celebrities that we're talking, not the young ones, but the older ones, I feel like it might be a little too late. I'm sorry, it might be a little too late for some of them. But how can we as fans, right? Some of us are fans or followers of these particular people. Outside, I think the only thing that I've seen that's been working, black people are realizing their power in the numbers, right? And although I don't agree with cancel culture, because I feel like we cancel people too quickly without even doing the full research, but I think we have seen and we have felt black people have made their importance, like their presence known. We will not support you because your dollars are coming from us, so therefore we will boycott you. Outside of that, is there a way for us to educate, or the thing is just it's not a level playing field? Like you can't get to a celebrity because both of you guys are not maybe economically on the same level. Like how do we change that to where they start to become a little bit more aware outside of canceling them? Well, is that the best way?
That's a good question.
It's like I said, that power of the dollar, because when you live in poverty and you want to get out, or you look at a young man, what comes with being famous? The women, the cars, the house. He's thinking on the mindset of a beast. Okay, and the beast is teaching you, hey, I'm gonna give you this amount of dollars. You know what I'm saying? And then all you have to do is stay in your lane. But once that person that they thought they had control of starts getting knowledge of self, now there's a problem. So they dig now into his past. You know, saying, find out, okay, what did he do? Because he's starting to wake up the masses. See, every time you start waking up the masses, there's an issue.
Yes.
They don't have a problem with you calling the female out of her name or calling your brother out of his name. They have no problem with that. You're walking around, you know, pants sagging, you know what I'm saying, being inappropriate, any kind of, they don't mind that. But once you come, you have those kind of following, now it's a problem because you're speaking truth. Truth is detrimental to a civilization that's causing havoc. So you can't have that. That's why they want to have control. They keep you occupied with the women and the foolishness.
Drugs.
And the drugs, you know what I'm saying, manipulation of the mind, the chemicals in the foods. All those things play a part to keep ignorance in front of you, but while those behind closed doors are doing the destruction
and profiting
because they got the people in limbo.
Yeah, because I'm wondering how much of the technology do our celebrities, are our celebrities really aware of? Now, these young folks Hanifah just described, are they aware that they're being manipulated? Are they aware that there's some puppets behind the scenes kind of pulling the strings and having where you look up and now all of a sudden 9 out of every 10 black male celebrity has worn a dress in a movie? Right. You know what I'm saying? Are they aware that they are actually being manipulated to do these things? Or does it just become one day you look up and like, wow, you look back and like, wow, I was being played the whole time?
Well,
what do you think?
I'll put it this way, sister. This is why they have a problem when certain artists speak with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Because he's a straight shooter and he explains to him the manipulation. And that's what causes a problem. So anytime any artist, whether it be male or female, sits down with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, all of a sudden they demonize that individual because he tells you a man doesn't wear a dress or women don't conduct themselves a certain way. Now you're starting to civilize the person. See, once you have a population of civilized people who are thinking people now, now you can challenge the status quo. Okay, right now we just go with the flow, and the people are saying, hey, the people who behind the scenes, people are actually watching this. People are actually watching this craziness, and the money's coming in. And look at the news that we watch, the media. So it tells you a lot how they think about the civilization, is have us at odds with one another, culture against culture and stuff of that nature. So we got to pay attention to those key components that you're mentioning, to what they're doing to us, even in the school system. Now they took prayer out of school, but they tell you that it's okay for a man who wears a dress, teach his own, to teach your children, but you can't pray in school. That says a lot. Influence.
Certain people have rights and others don't. It's really what's happening. What I find a little bit problematic in today's culture and social media culture is that we wait to be told when to be angry or when to protest. And when I say that, it's almost like you always find that maybe someone did something that was public, and so then now everyone is on the bandwagon. I'm canceling them. I'm not supporting them. I'm talking about fans, because some of these people I don't even support. I don't even know who they are until they get posted, or someone tells me this sing this song. I say, oh, that's that. I wouldn't know who the person is. But for those who are actually following these people, then all of a sudden it's like, oh well, I'm burning their CD. Well, not CDs, but I'm deleting all their music, off of my playlist and all of this. And I'm just like, but they've been problematic. Listen to their lyrics. They've been talking about you in a derogatory way. Why do we wait? Why do we wait until someone says, okay? It's like we have this on and off switch as black people. It disturbs me where someone could just say, okay, Brother Vaughn, be angry now. Click, no. You good. Just go back to sleep. Click. Be angry now. I feel like sometimes we're puppets as black people, because I see it on social media, and I'm just like R. Kelly, for example. Like some people are like, why are we acting like this is something new? Like comedians have made jokes about R. Kelly. Comedians have made jokes about whoever, like Michael Jackson was.
Michael Jackson too.
This just came up, and it's like everybody's like, oh my God, no, this is like 20 years old though. So that's what is it about us that it's almost like we're puppets, where we pick and choose when to be angry and what to be angry about. So I'm upset about this musician calling my sister a B, but I'm fine with him calling my brother a nigger. You get what I'm saying? It's like, what is it about us that we pick and choose what we should be in uproar about when it's all terrible?
I think it's convenience when it's easy. Change is hard, and you mentioned R. Kelly. One of the things I don't believe what the brother did was correct. I'm not here defending the brother, and I'm not in a position to chastise my brother or condemn him. I'm saying I'm pretty sure that he's going through a certain amount of hell personally, and
without you adding to it,
he doesn't need me to add on to it.
That's real.
The brother was a victim once upon a time that didn't get help, and also he didn't act alone either.
That's
so
right.
It wasn't like R. Kelly just did all this by himself. But once again, he dealt with predators himself at a young age, but nobody helped him.
That's true.
So by his gifts and influence and those in the record industry, Now I'm looking at hypocrisy now because the record industry alone have nothing but predators in there. I'm saying, and now all of a sudden you want to take R. Kelly, a black man, put him as the face of being a predator. You know what I'm saying? But before R. Kelly, who was it before him? You had Elvis. Elvis' wife was 14. But yet they're not going to destroy that image of their own. But yet R. Kelly's the focal point of that. So we got to look at, okay, if people are so distraught about R. Kelly disrespecting young girls, rightfully so. If you have a problem with R. Kelly's sexual misbehavior, rightfully so. That means that you must be angry at everything that deals with sexual misconduct. Now, the same people who are arguing, I don't see them shutting down strip clubs. I don't see them in the streets where they have access now to pull a young girl and say, hey, you don't have to prostitute no more. You don't have to strip anymore. You don't have to sell your body. I don't see these people, millions of people on there judging and condemning, but all these sexual predators are all over the place in your community. I don't see you shutting none of them down.
You know, I watched the episode of Being Mary Jane last night. Right. Don't ask me why, but I did. And on that episode, she needed her brother's support. So she was addicted to this particular man. Right. She couldn't. He was married, and she couldn't stay away from him. This is the part. And so she said the brother's an ex-addict from drugs. Right. So she's asking him, "What do you do when you feel like, you know, you get that craving? What do you do?" So he said, "I'll show you." He drove her over to the auntie's house. And she was like, "I'm not going in there. You know, Aunt such and such." And then she's saying, "You know, Uncle such and such is going to try to feel on me." Right. And there's a part where they go into the home to visit the aunt, and the uncle is there. And indeed, he comes. This is a grown woman. She's almost 40 at this point. Right. And it shows the part in the clip where he hugs her and he gropes her butt. And she's like, hey, and the widow just moved on from it in that episode. I was blown, because I'm like, I'd never seen that. But she knew that. So when you talk about, like, she knew that, it's like it's known that the uncle feels on the girls, where we have, you know, he's a freak, and no, that's a pedophile, right? And so when you talk about calling out different other things that really is connected to pedophilia at the end of the day most of the times, we have to call out family members. And I really think that's the reason why a lot of people don't really want to touch this too deeply, because touching it too deeply is going to bring up some things in your own personal life, because sexual abuse is rampant. 1 in 3 women, I think it's 1 in 3 women and 1 in 5 men or something like that alone. You know, it's a big, like, you could sit at the table and more than likely a couple of people at that table, there could be 10, you know, and probably like maybe 8, 7 people out of that 10 have been molested. So it's a big issue. It's very prevalent in our community. What I have an issue with, and if you could speak to this, is we don't want to hold our own accountable until our oppressors hold their own accountable. I can't get with that, because then we don't move anywhere and there's no accountability. We are responsible for our own selves, for our own community, for policing our own communities. Why are we looking outside ourselves for the standard? Why don't we start setting our own standards as far as morality is concerned? Like, why I see that, it bothers me. I'm like, no, this is people who you're saying is diabolical, right? And they're just animalistic in nature. They've pillaged, they've raped, they've murdered, you know, they're genocidal. We say these things about these people, yet we say them first. Right. Well, why would we wait for them to set such a standard where we are already saying this is their nature?
Well, you gotta look at where we learned it from. You know what I'm saying? If you got look at our because slavery was big business, and it still has an effect on us today. Yes. And I'm not justifying any wrongdoing, so I'll make sure that's clear. But slavery was a big rape culture. Yes. Okay? In order for us to populate, they would send the male among the females with no responsibility and have your way with them. No responsibility. So you're constantly teaching that. Animals. And they know that there was no consequence for you dealing with the black woman that way. But if you touch the white woman the wrong way, or even look at her clothing hanging on the clothesline, they won't lynch you for it. So they made sure that whatever his sick desires were, it stayed focused on the women for a long period, over 400 years of this constant behavior, and it was never checked. Now we're trying to make sure that we have checks and balances now, where we say, hey, this is wrong. This is where the men step up. So in the nation, we are taught that we don't go to another brother's house unless the man is home. Okay, so that protects the women in the house. So there's no reason for the daughters to be congregating among men when men in the living room. They go in their rooms or they stay where they are. It's not condemning the woman, but it's protecting the woman. So how do we say in this day and time what's the best way to protect our sisters? Okay, and we got to say that do sisters want to be protected? Because sometimes you do have aspects where men do step up, and sometimes in this culture, we spoke about it some time ago. The independent, I have the right to do this. I have the right to walk outside a certain way. And you're right, a woman can walk outside naked. No man has the right to disrespect her, touch her. But you're feeding to a certain culture and nature. You know what I'm saying? And I want to make sure that's clear to the audience. I'm not justifying any man disrespecting a woman because she's wearing a certain outfit. Right. But in the same token, you got to look at what we're dealing with today. They feed sex all the time. Every time you turn around, you go to the supermarket, there's sexual conduct on the magazine, television. Everything's a sexual explicit. Even the cartoons now, it's heavily sexually explicit. So what do you expect from a society, what do you expect from a society when you constantly pushing sex among the population, and then yet when they do act on it, I got you.
Right.
Now it's your fault. You shouldn't have done that. But you're pushing it. And they're getting young boys in school. I was a young boy in school. Okay? There was always that one kid back in the day that always got access to his father's
porn collection,
his Playboy. You don't know better. You know what I'm saying? You just see flesh. And they're teaching. And nobody's correcting it. It's wrong. Now, once upon a time, there were some standards where they used to have Hustler or Playboy in the comic books. But they used to have it in the section where the man in the store said, you guys can't go back there. You can't cross this line for a reason. Now it's out in the open and nobody cares. Nobody cares. Nobody speak up on it because it's not looked favorable to speak upon those wrongs that you're talking about. So it can be fixed, but the want has to be there. There has to be a certain standard there. And once the standards start coming up a little higher, I believe that you can start seeing sexual misconduct come down where if an artist speaks about calling a female B or she's doing something sexually incorrect, nobody's supporting it. Now, once the money stops coming in, they said we can't stop promoting that no more because nobody's paying attention to it. Nobody's buying into it anymore. And like I said, you're in a certain mindset. So a lot of things are learned behavior. And I think once we start breaking that cycle of learned behavior, I think we can start seeing the results that you're looking for.
But now, do we do that, and going back to Hanifah's question, do we do that by pointing other people's faults out, though? Or do we focus on our own mess and clean our own house up? Because if I'm hearing Hanifah right, she's saying that, we have let's go back to the R. Kelly, for example. When the R. Kelly thing broke, it was a large portion of our community saying, well, what about Elvis? Or, well, what about Harvey Weinstein? So it's like, does that matter in the grand scheme of things?
No.
Because R. Kelly has an issue, we should now point out Harvey Weinstein's issue as well? Or do we focus in-house and get our own house in order?
But the want has to be there. This just for my set. The want has to be there to clean our own house. It's like you have a junky house. You want it clean. Nobody's going to do it but yourself.
Right.
You follow what I'm saying? So, yeah, we could blame others, but once again, the justice system is not designed for us. So what's going to happen to us has nothing to do with anybody else. So let's be clear with that. But I do agree. We do have a responsibility. We should have more men step up. If you bring something to my attention, you're my niece or my daughter, I should take that very seriously. The men in the family collectively should come and say, hey, let's make sure that, we don't have this happen. We take our own justice. We don't wait for a system to fix our problem. So even in the nation, our sisters, we are taught to kill for our women. So that gives them a certain protection because they know that, okay, if I mess with this sister here, she's from the nation, there's a lot of brothers coming our way, a lot of men, because we are taught that. But we should have that same value whether you're in the nation or not, which we do because y'all are sisters. So if I see anything going on with you as a man, your brother, then I step into that and say, hey, what can we do to make sure that this doesn't happen again, and we address it properly? So the men have to be a part of the solution as well. Big time. If they want to fix it, because the best way to check a man is with another man, and we should be doing that.
And I feel like a lot of people shy away from the conversations, and some of the conversations that I've seen happen on social media has really, really vexed my entire soul. And it acted to the point where I had to really reel myself back from it, because it will put you in a space where you start to lose respect for brothers that you have respect for. When you see their rhetoric and their conversation around rape, and you're like, ooh, brother, you cannot really be thinking that way. And I mean good brothers, people who are good fathers, people who have daughters, people who are respectful, and then you have the conversation around rape culture and women, and it's just amazing. But I find that's why it's important to have the conversations, because I don't think that these good brothers that I'm talking about are deliberately like doing this. I think that's just really, because we're just complex beings, I just really think that's the thought process that they've been fed from really young and socialized into from really young that we're seeing. It doesn't mean that they're bad people. Trust me, it took me a while to process this. It doesn't mean that they're bad people. Yes, it's just that they're ignorant when it comes to protectors who have taught them. Right. You know, what protection of a woman was protecting their mother. Right. For some of them, protecting her from her abusive boyfriend. Like, their protection of a woman looks a little bit differently, right? But I think what you're saying with the participation of the men, I think that these conversations kind of push us in that direction. They're difficult, but at least we have the brothers participating in the conversations so we can have them. So even when we're having these conversations, we have to be very careful in how we talk about rape culture, because not only is it triggering for women, there are a lot of brothers who have been abused themselves and have never said it, and it's triggering for them. And some of them are really like trying to, they're doing a blame thing because they're trying to keep the light off of themselves. Because God forbid that part of my life ever get exposed. To them it feels like it's emasculated. So I feel like what you just mentioned as far as the brothers, I think we're going in that direction, and I like it. But we also got to know that it's going to be painful and it's going to be tough. It's a process. It's a process. And we got to be patient with each other in the conversations, right? Yeah. But what I wanted to talk about as well, do you think that, I don't think any of us has the right to sit on any seat and judge, but do you think that a lot of these celebrities, the type of lifestyle that they're living, and we just mentioned R. Kelly and now the Michael Jackson thing, the Bill Cosby piece that came up, are we having a difficult time holding these people to accountable simply because of their celebrity status, or is there a bigger issue in our community?
Well, we have to look at it this way too, dear sister. Now, if you're a young person, we talk about young people who make money, influence, and you got millions of beautiful women throwing themselves at you all the time. You know, in a young man's mindset, I said, they don't require me to do anything to get sexual pleasure from these groupies that are throwing themselves constantly at me. But when you get that one that says no, you know who I am? Now arrogance comes into place. Because so many, thousands of women throwing themselves at you, but one with more stigma about herself says, no, I don't do that. Now he's pressing.
Regardless of who you are.
Right, regardless of who you are. Now he's pressing her now. She's saying no, now he's pressing her because now you're dealing with ego and pride now. So you're being taught, you know what I'm saying, certain things for so long that when you actually come across somebody like that, this is where you find young people, especially young men, getting in trouble, because now you're putting hands on. And by right, you don't have the right to touch anyone, but she has the right to say no or say, hey, this brother just violated. Once you touch somebody without their permission, you violated them. So young men have to be responsible, like we mentioned earlier, about that. Yes, and so does young women. So this is where some of the men that you might be mentioning saying, well, what about the women who are being loose with themselves? You got two wrongs right there. So you got one woman here doing irresponsible with the nature of their body, and then you got one male taking advantage of it. So they're giving it to me. That's the mindset we have if you read on social media. Well, they're giving it up. Why not act on it?
Where does that come from, though? That we have to, I feel like I have to deliberately say to my son, I don't care what a woman has on. It's like I have to deliberately have this conversation with my son, right? In the culture that we're living in right now. Where does that come from that our men, who are not little boys anymore, our men are, well, that's up for debate, but I'm just, some of them, but I'm just saying, like, our men can look at a woman, and you use the word loose, so she's dressing loosely or carrying herself a certain way. And it doesn't
justify anything.
No, I know, and you made that very clear, but where does that come from that a man can look and say, oh, she have on short shorts in this 95-degree weather? she want me to A, B, C, D. Where does that come from? Like, without consent, where does that come from? Is it something that in our society to where we're indoctrinating our boys a certain way, that they're growing up to be these type of men?
Well, let's look at how some of the fathers reward their sons. You know, it's a big thing to some men that if the young boy got young girls, you know, it starts in kindergarten. You know, young girl giving the young boy her cookie or something like that, and the dad's cheering him on, so that's my boy. You know, and it starts from a young age depending on the mindset you create. You know what I'm saying? We may think it's innocent, but we plant a seed to some degree. So when you start planting seeds, as we talked about earlier, influence. Okay, even when I was coming up, you know, we watched certain movies. The cool guy had the one main girlfriend, but he dressed nice, but he had many women. And you look at TV and say, wow, that's cool. And he's always, you know, he has the gun, he beat up everybody, and that male testosterone, you know, you're like, wow, that's cool. Then you go out, and you know what I'm saying, you want to be cool, you know, just like that. You know what I'm saying, depending if you have another male figure at home. But if you're looking for what's a good image for a man for me to follow, it depends on who catches your eye first, who has the stronger, quote-unquote, influence on you, and saying then you follow suit based off how they got to where they are with the money, the fame, the women, you know. And if you look at, once upon a time they had MTV Cribs come on. If you remember that, I don't know if it still comes on anymore. You know, the young guy in his early 20 teen got this big elaborate house. As you go through that house, what do you see? Women on the couch here, women there, women here. So somebody like that, I want to do that too. I want to be able to get women in without having to do too much for it, you know. And then you sit there and say, well, in order for me to get there, to spot influence, I need to write these kind of lyrics. I can't talk about positivity because that won't get me my money. But if I call a woman outside her name, it doesn't matter because they still come to my concert. If I look at my I look at my inventory here, my biggest supporters are women. So we got a question. That's what some men would say, hey, there's some hypocrisy here. You're judging me, but yet you're the one supporting this behavior. You know they're calling you a B, but yet he said, well, that's not talking about me. Yes, he is talking about you. You know, they won't call them mother that, right?
Those other girls, not me.
But that's the mindset some women have. But
yeah.
Yes, he's talking about you too.
Yeah, and so we hear all the time, like the instances you speak of. The solution to that is start at home. We hear that a lot. It starts at home. You got to get them when they're young. You got to teach our youth growing up. But what if, we find ourselves now in a culture where the home, the parents are sometimes more dysfunctional than, you know what I'm saying, than anywhere else. And so how do we turn this around if what they're learning from home is dysfunction?
The question is just the want. Do you want to turn around? You got to have the will to want to. Because what's the will like? It doesn't take much to turn the television off. It doesn't take much, you know what I'm saying, they say, I'm going to be more part of my children's...
But don't you have to first know that what you're watching is poisonous to you to be able to turn it off? And that's why I think where we are in this day and time, a lot of us, we don't even realize that what we're participating in on a regular day-to-day basis is poisoning us.
But madness become normalized now, sister. They normalize madness. And once again, me and you not too far from age, so once upon a time, certain things was unheard of.
Right.
We had family shows. Certain things you just couldn't do because it was a moral standard.
Right.
The radio
had
moral standard. This is why back then, before social media, if you wanted to be on the radio, you had to be radio friendly. So you had to make music that they know you're getting on the airwaves.
Yeah.
Okay? If you're on the airwaves, you can make money selling your records. Now, because we have social media and the internet now, you know what I'm saying, now even the radio doesn't really blurb anything anymore. You know what I'm saying? Because the moral standards has dropped dramatically because A, we allowed it and we normalized it as being normal. It's okay now. So if the producer's saying, well, this public saying is okay and they're making money, once again, it's follow the dollar. Why is it? Everything has a cause and effect to why they're doing it.
I see the normalizing. I'm sorry, I'm going to let you jump right in. I just see the normalizing with like the profanity.
Right.
It's like now it's just regular conversation, you know, that for a lot of us, even celebrity figures and people that other people look up to and children look up to, you rarely can have a conversation without a whole lot of profanity in it. And I'm like, when did we get here? And so the normalizing of dysfunction.
Right.
And then if somebody attempts to correct the behavior, they become, the target.
Right.
How dare you
Right.
try to correct my dysfunction?
Yes.
So I just find it.
You got to think of like how culture is created. How culture is created through you normalize something enough, it becomes the norm. That becomes the culture. Where people actually starts to claim it as culture.
Right.
People have been talking a lot about like appropriation of black culture. Like some people, and I feel like we pick the lowest, most of the time, the lowest things about ourselves to try to defend and say this person is appropriating. I'm like, appropriating? Go ahead and confiscate the whole thing. We don't want it.
Right.
We don't want it. I'm just like, it's like we pick the lowest parts of ourselves to get in an uproar about, oh, they're trying to be us. And I'm like, no, they can have that.
Right.
Because that ain't black.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, why do we pick the lowest things? And I get it, because you look at what black is affiliated. The word black alone
Right.
is affiliated with. It's not negative. It's not anything positive.
Right.
But what I wanted to speak to was the household. Going back to the household, Al-Qamar, I feel like most of us as human beings, as flawed as we are, we tend to have a lot of like this ambiguous, sometimes nature in us, where we call it hypocrisy sometimes.
Right.
I don't really like to call it that. However, I can see it I'll see it in myself, and I have to check it sometimes. And I set up, what I'm getting to is that, like, as parents, because now we have to parent these kids. What can happen is, for the best example I could think of is, as a parent, you're saying, you don't lie to me. You don't lie in this house. Lying isn't good.
Right.
And then that same child is watching you on the phone. Your same child is the one you're sending to pick the phone up or to answer the phone, if you have a house phone, and tell them you're not here. Right? They're watching you lie to bill collectors. They're watching you. So there's a level of hypocrisy sometimes that we got to be careful as parents, because the messages that we are sending, and communication is not just verbal.
Right.
We're always communicating.
True.
Through the way we dress, what we do, body language, all of that is communication. So you could be saying one thing out your mouth and your child is watching you.
Right.
And they're receiving that same message. Well, it's okay to lie, because here's the adult that I look up to, that is God in my mind, and they're lying with ease. So what should stop me from lying? So I think that it does go back to the home. But don't you think? And I saw this with the whole Kelly scandal thing.
Right.
A lot of people were saying these children's parents sold them to R. Kelly, and they should be held accountable, or that's the parents' fault. My question to that is, because there are parents, like Al-Qamar just mentioned, when parents cannot properly care for their children, whose responsibility is it? Because I don't think we get it. We don't have a village mindset.
No.
We don't, because that's the first thing we say, well, the parents is who sold them, what you want us to do? Whose responsibility is it if this sister here has a mental health issue and can't properly care for this 6 or 7-year-old kid? Whose responsibility is it?
Ooh, that's a deep one, sister, but I believe the terminology Planned Parenthood, plan means you have a scope of where you want to be at. When you plan to be a parent, you must ask yourself, do I qualify? Do I know if I'm ready? That starts with that's the honest answer that one person should have. But once again, we live in a society where we just loose without sexual behavior. We just go for the moment, not think of the bigger picture. So if you know you're not in a financial, if you're not in a financial situation, especially men, I teach my son this all the time. Now, my son is my oldest, he's 18, and my newborns are 6 months. So I'm showing him right now how he's holding his brother and sister now, and how much responsibility, the crying, the changing, how much money dad got to put out. And I said, see, a woman's a responsibility. See, once we start teaching our youth and our people that a woman is a responsibility, I'm saying now Planned Parenthood comes in, okay, I'm not ready for that, because everything's not guaranteed. So we got to start from the beginning. Okay, before we even get to that part right there. Self-accountability, you mentioned that before. Or if a woman knows that a man's not in a certain status, okay, I'm a responsibility, brother. You are not in a place right now, both mentally or anything else, to maintain me if we have a child. That's what a woman protects herself, not birth control. Birth control starts to say, no, you ain't ready, brother. That's birth control right there. So therefore, that can start the conversation alone, we're teaching our daughters and our sons the responsibility of their sexual desires.
Mm-hmm.
You know, saying not at the school teaching about sex. The parent takes charge of teaching this child about sex.
But that's in a sane household, though. That's
right.
in well, if the parent is not sane, then who's teaching that child those wonderful qualities and characteristics you just described?
Well, this is where we become a village, sister. This is where the hard part comes in.
Mm-hmm.
See, the reason I had this bad taste in my mouth when it comes to people always pointing the finger.
Mm-hmm.
They were saying like, you should do this, you that. Well, what about you?
Mm-hmm.
You know, you seem like you know better. Your comments on social media seem like you know better. Well, who are you helping? Well, that's not my problem. Then guess what? You are the problem because you see an issue, but you don't want to address it. You see, we talk big on social media. You know, we sit there with moral standards and we'll say our spiel. But once you call somebody out to say, come to the community, you know what I'm saying, help these young girls out. I ain't got time. How you?
And I'm glad you said that because
Yes,
it's become a culture
Right.
for us to give advice. You know,
you
ask us,
advice. Right.
we will give advice to what should be done.
Right.
But it's like, okay, well, clearly you know what needs to be done, clearly, because you're giving the advice.
Right.
But what are you going to do yourself to help this situation get better? And we don't. And I think that's a big issue, is why our situations collectively, community-wise, go from bad to worse.
Right.
We find ourselves like the children, for example. We're losing them in a lot of ways. And that's because, and they can be, and this issue can be fixed. It can be fixed. If enough of us would, instead of just giving the advice, say, you know what, let me put my shoes on and go down to the Boys and Girls Club, or go next door, because I know the lady having issues, and you know what I'm saying? Or take on a mentor or two, a mentee or two. Right. You know what I'm saying? And well, we don't. We do not do that.
Well, let's look at the PTA, the school system. Let's look at the PTA, Parent-Teacher, Association in our schools. How many parents are actually taking part in the education development of their child, and they literally treat the school as a daycare?
Yeah.
That shows right there, because right now, when I drive to work, sometimes I'm like, why is that young girl in uniform, the skirt's so high? You know what I'm saying? Or the young brother, he's purposely trying to sag his pants. But that shows a disconnect. Because the teachers will be saying, your daughters wear X, Y, and Z. Are you aware of that? And that's where they work together as a team. Or the church. You know what I'm saying? So many people are frowned upon the church because the church isn't as strong as it used to be. It's to be a place that if you're in trouble, you can go to the church. And it's like a community center. Hey, young sister, come as you are. Then you talk to her in private. You don't shame them. Yeah. And this is where a lot of young people have a disconnect, because they want to get their advice, but as adults, we do too much of this. We point, not knowing that we were once their age, and they're looking for guidance.
Right.
So if you're the person that knows better, and if you're on social media, you can see me on this, if you know better, step up.
Yeah.
You got to stop with this, social media pulpit speaking of, I know better, like you just said, or, if the parents do this, if the father did that. Well, if you're a man, period, that's your son, that's your nephew. That's your little brother. If you're a woman, that's my daughter, that's my niece, that's my sister.
My neighbor.
My neighbor.
Yeah.
Step up. That's why sometimes you got to go close deaf ears to those who just run their mouth to some degree now.
I think the parenting piece, at least for me, I feel like whatever blueprint we have
Yes, ma'am.
for parenting, we just need to burn it and start from scratch. I think that there's a lot of things that were passed down to us from our ancestors that was beaten into them, and even beaten into to some of our parents and grandparents. I think that we just need to just do away with it and just start from scratch, because a lot of it is the parenting. A lot of what we talk about is connecting to the parenting, or the lack thereof, of parenting. And that's why I always said the village piece, because where are the elders? Where are the elders to teach us, the women, as far as parenting is concerned? This is what you do. This is what where are they? I'm talking about elders with sound minds now.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, because some elders will talk you right out of your relationship
Yeah.
because they're still bitter at their last their last two ex-husbands. You know what I'm saying? No, it's true. And so I'm talking about elders with sound minds, and it's like there's a lack of that in our community right now. But what I look at and what I see as parenting and stuff that we glorify in our parenting, that is straight up abuse.
Yeah.
Right.
It's abuse,
Yeah.
glorified abuse,
Yeah.
period.
Yeah.
You know, and the way here I was driving, thinking about how, as black people, we just think that we are the best. What do you call it? Like we're the best at disciplinarians. We just
Yeah.
like when we see somebody's child cutting up or something. I was driving, it's like we put ourselves in a situation. I would do this, and I'm like, we just swear we're the best disciplinarians. And a lot of what we call discipline is abuse.
I agree with that.
It's glorified abuse. And so for me, even thinking about that, we have a violent way in which we raise our children.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's why I'm, you know me and how I feel about that. But I'm just like, okay, so you beat your child when they were growing up, and these are the tormentors in our community today. So your whooping didn't really do much. So I feel like parenting, it goes back to that. We need to really put that under a microscope, shamelessly, and not be afraid, because yes, that means we're gonna have to talk about the black woman. We're going to have to talk about these single parents. We're going to have to talk about these absentee dads, which we talk about all the time.
Yeah.
But we don't want to touch parenting because by default, we're a matriarchal community, the black community.
Yeah.
So to talk about parenting means to talk about our mothers, and a lot of us are not ready to go there.
And I'm wondering if, when I hear her say scrap, we just got to scrap the whole idea of parenting and start over. Do we do that how do we do that in a society such as this?
The society, we look at where we're living at. We're living in Babylon. We're living in a hell system. We got people who are been breaking up the families since the foundation of the country. So family structures have always been struggling as far as our people's concerned.
Okay.
Separate of the family. So we are very damaged people. And I'm saying, and people don't want to address that. Okay, let's start from the root. Now, once upon a time, we had stronger marriages. I was saying when we knew that our unification was key to our survival. Now that we got a little comfortable, make a little bit more money, we got these so-called degrees now, all of a sudden our standards is like, well, I got a degree, you're beneath me. Or I'm making X amount of dollars now, you're beneath me. As in, how dare you ask me for my phone number? You know, we in that stage now. Now you have this disconnect, and the enemy knows that. Our conversation right now is what they don't want. Saying this dialogue to create thought, to fix a problem, to address a problem, what's wrong, to know the value of a woman. I think if we teach the women themselves what's your value, because women are coming to power now, and they see that. And the beautiful thing about the women that are speaking with influence, they conduct themselves a certain way. They talk with intellect. They're rocking the boat, big time. And they talk with such influence that any man that wants to be with them has to come correctly, because okay, for me to get this kind of woman, my standards got to stand up as far as being responsible, the things that I say. I just can't do anything I want. You know what I'm saying? That's why sometimes people say, well, depending on my self-esteem, I'll deal with this, I'll just tolerate this. But once again, once your standards are high, but then you start seeing different qualities that we're looking for.
That's right.
Especially in the community.
Right.
The women.
Right.
And once we start elevating the woman, it's like the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, no nation can rise above the condition of his woman. So women have high standards, and they say no to this. We're not buying these kind of music. We're not having this kind of program. Just imagine if the Me Too movement said, well, we're going after the television programs that disrespect women. Now, I guarantee you that Me Too movement might have little challenges on their hand, because now you're going after the dollar now. See, it's easy to go after individuals because that's not going to affect their dollar. Bill Cosby, that was something intentional. That was driven. Michael Jackson, that's driven. He's dead, but you're still driving at that. Who's pushing this? Who's the puppet master behind this? See, we don't think about and why. You always got to say why. You know what I'm saying? Michael Jackson has been dead over 10 years, and he's still pushing allegations on this man. And some of us, with no proof, believe the very media that's been destroying us for hundreds of years. The very media. But yet they say something about our people. It must be true because they say it enough times. Or they even put our own people against each other. Even when R. Kelly had the interview with Sister Gail, that was atrocious. I'm saying that was your brother. Hey, brother, this not a good look. This, you know.
That's why I asked the question: can our problems really be the root of our problems? Really be solved in this society as it is? Because it's almost like we're saying, okay, brush yourself off, clean yourself up. Here's some soap. When we're standing in the middle of a mud pile.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Maybe it goes back to you, because I know you stand firm on, you believe that we need separation. And
right.
I feel like probably more in a I'll use the word segregated, but if we do separation, I think that it gives, in that type of setup, we could possibly heal from a lot of this. But without that, I don't know how.
That's where I'm wondering, and I understand separation starts in the mind.
Right.
I get that. I'm not so radical that I think we should all just grab our bags and start walking. You know what I'm saying? No, I get that. That's just unrealistic. And I know separation begins here first.
Yes,
you got to first start realizing
right.
that you got to separate yourself from this madness. You know what I'm saying? In the mind first. But realistically speaking, once you do that, even once you do that, and after you do that, and you start doing for self and all the other necessary things,
right.
Then what? I mean, because you can't be an island within yourself if you're part of a community.
Well, we've done that before. Let's look at the blueprint. Okay, Black Wall Street, which Brother Troy X is going to be doing that segment. But let's look at Black Wall Street, for example. We had one of the wealthiest communities during the Great Depression, not too long before 1865, where slavery was abolished, allegedly. You know, so guess what? We didn't have no student loans. We didn't have no degrees. We were mathematicians and scientists, and this is why we built this country, because we built it, so we knew how to deal with the money, finances. And they wanted to know how did former slaves during the Great Depression, money still turn around in the community. We can do it. We have plenty of communities that have done so. I'm saying we did, the value of each other, say we're going to build a community and know about business and stuff of that nature. So we did separate. Then we look at all the way to, we got to the Civil Rights Movement. What was the platform? We had more schools. We had more black businesses. You know what I'm saying? We had more teachers. We had our own doctors. We had our own leagues.
Yeah.
We had all those things going on.
Separation, yeah.
And then once we said, hey, it's okay to integrate, we thought that the other side was better than what we had. So guess what? And then the hotels we had was gone. Bus companies, everything that we had started diminishing. The dollar came out the community. The schools didn't have the same value or the whole structure that we had. Because you went to school, you had to dress a certain way, you respected the teacher. Higher learning there's no choice but to have higher learning. Look at the adventures that we had back then. We invented so much, and we were segregated.
Even the crime rate, even the crime. I mean, what's the word I'm looking for? The worst of the crimes.
Right.
It was at one point when you heard of the horrible crime, horrific crime, you knew that wasn't in the black community. Right. You don't even have to see the face. You're like, oh, that's them.
Right.
But now, that has changed as well. Right. Because of associations. Right. Bringing on similarities. The closer I think we've come in proximity, it's like, well, you can't be in a mud pool without getting muddy.
But some people think that, and this is where we get it misconstrued, separation doesn't mean you hate anybody.
Right.
It's not a racist thing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It means that, hey, we have damage that
right.
we have to clean up. We are very damaged people.
Right.
And they're not letting up. I went to the African
right.
the African American Museum yesterday with my family. And it was crazy that from every level I went to, it was the same rhetoric. Justice, freedom, equality. Everywhere we went, it was the same echo. We wanted justice. We fought every war. We went through the most horrific Holocaust in history. And even to this present day and time, the presidential candidates that's running now saying no, that we shouldn't get reparations. That's a slap in the face. That means they're telling you that we did all this stuff, dealt with Jim Crow, everything you put on paper, you lied on, but yet you said, hey, give us a piece of land for ourselves.
And everybody else had that option that was given reparations.
But when it comes to us, it's like, no, we can't, nah. You Negroes stay where you are.
My theory in that is because, you know, how do you give reparations to slaves? If you're still in slavery, you know what I'm saying? Well, that usually comes after.
We're still in the Constitution, in our amendment, sister, about how we're freed to a certain degree, you know? So you still look at it as property. This is why.
That's my point.
If a black woman gets treated a certain way, it's no big deal. A black man get choked out, get killed. Right now, it's normalized now. You can look at social media now, and you can see people just go by.
Yeah, we're desensitized.
Desensitized. Yeah. And
so
even in the courts. I mean, you're being killed with impunity. I mean, you know, we go to courts and we rally and we get upset, and they still let the perpetrators off scot-free.
Right.
So it's like now you turn around and say, respect me and give me reparations when, you know, you're not even getting the bare minimum of respect in society.
Well, this is how our enemy gets us, dear sister. The first thing I say is, what about black on black crime? They throw that in our face. We talk about justice. Okay, what about black on black crime? Let's look at it this way. You know, it's hurtful to me to see one of the biggest lynchers happen to be my own brother, because he's uncivilized mentally. He don't see value. He sees me and him, and he's angry. So he said, "You know what? I'll take your life and have no remorse about it." Okay, or I see a sister. He hates his mother, so every black woman he sees, anything that comes towards her, he's angry. Or vice versa, a woman, that young girl, that uncle you was talking about earlier. I can't stand black men because they're supposed to protect me, but yet they violated me. So once they know that, they feed into it. Separation. Look at the commercials now. Interracial is big time. You know what I'm saying? The black
homosexuality, big time.
I'm saying they push the feminization of the black man out front. But there are a lot of strong men, but we are angry if we're talking with aggression or with positivity, or he's an angry black man. No, I speak with authority because I'm a man. And they don't see in two
toxic masculinity.
Right. So they can't have that. You know what I'm saying? Because the alpha male has to look a certain way.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You can't have two alpha males in the same room, even in the society, in the animal kingdom.
Yeah.
Two alpha males can't be in the same.
Correct.
Right. So guess what? You got to keep that one down.
Right.
With genocide.
Good teaching.
You know
Good teaching.
So the private prison population,
That's
drugs, the marijuana. All of a sudden, you got brothers in jail for a nickel bag of weed doing a hard time. Now they're making big business of saying that now you got a chain, and now all of a sudden it's the end thing to do. Now you got our own politicians. What's the sister's name that went to that's running for president?
The half Indian woman.
Well, she
half Indian, half Jamaican.
Right. So she came to the Breakfast Club, and not talking about
Kamala
education.
Harris.
Right. She didn't talk about education or improving the community. She's talking about legalized marijuana. Like that's all we wanted. That's an insult. Sometimes we gotta listen to these things.
That's what I'm saying. We pick the lowest of ourselves to label black. Because she thinks that that's black culture. She thinks that this is how I'm going to win over my black, you know, the black demographic. That's all of them do this. Obama did it. Right. All of them do it.
But we spoke about influence a little earlier, about what influence or who controls the strings. Okay, she can't go in there and say, well, black man, I want you to stand up.
Good teaching.
Right, because guess what? The people that control her.
Now she's off the platform altogether. Now, if she starts changing her rhetoric.
They, like the sister, our Muslim sister who speaks very strongly, she never disrespected any Jewish people. Yeah. She just disagreed with the things that Israel is doing.
Good point.
It's just a disagreement.
Good point.
But look how they're coming after with venom.
Good point.
She's telling a grown woman to apologize for something that she did not do offensively.
Good point. All she did was spoke the truth.
Spoke the truth. That's how powerful the truth is. But they'll condemn you for speaking truth.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate. That's what we're saying. Where's the equality in speech? It was saying where somebody could have a disagreement without being.
There's no such thing.
But that's what creates fear.
Right.
So all those things that we're talking about, there's a fear factor to that. They say, well, if I stay as savage, it won't bother me.
Yes.
If I stop waking people up, it hurt my money, it hurt my family. Now they're coming after my past. You see what I'm saying? You're dealing with straight beasts.
And that's what I think a lot of us don't, in the mainstream, don't really get. They really believe that we can forge our way to this point of equality.
Right.
you know, that we're going to stand side by side with the beast and rule this nation. When two lions don't rule the same tribe, they will fight to the death every time.
Go back and evaluate, redefine equality, because equality, what has become equality for us, and especially talking about rape culture and celebrity, is almost like equality for a lot of us is being able to get away with the same nastiness and stupidity and lawlessness that white people get away with.
Yeah.
That's almost what we think equality is. Oh, when they're held accountable, we're going to hold ourselves accountable. And I'm just like, no, that's not what equality is.
Right. And when you look around the world in other nations, ruling nations, where else can we look to as an example of two cultures or two races of people in the same society ruling together? Is there one? So we're gonna defy the laws of nature here in America. And this whole melting pot is gonna one day just be beautiful for all of us.
If you look at in the back of the final call, it says that what is the Muslim pro? What do we want? We want justice, freedom, and equality for all, no matter race, creed, or color. So having justice for all is universal. I strongly believe that everybody deserves justice.
Yes.
Because when you have a place that people can have justice, then you have a strong civilization. People can live among each other, where if I do something wrong to you, whether you're white, black, or whatever, then the same equal justice will come down to me if I wrong you. But when you have an uneven playing field, then you have a sense of arrogance now. I have a strong chance of getting away with it because I hate you anyway. You see what I'm saying? So if you look at the pattern, and it's still going on, we see it on social media. Some get caught, depending on who the judge is, depending on who the jury is. It all depends. But we're talking about influence, and we won't get back to the point that you made before about being famous. The question we have to ask people, what are you famous for? And have them explain it. Sometimes you ask a person, what are you famous for? Like, what do you do for a living? You got to explain what do you do, because it requires thought. So if a young brother says, oh, I'm famous for being a rapper, hey, what do you rap about? Now he has to think about his lyrical content. And anybody by nature, they'll say, damn, what do I rap about? What do I talk about? Or sister, what do you sing about? You know, and you have to think about that. You know, there's like Sister Cardi B, for example. She had a video out, and it says to be about social media, you get to see all these things where she brought her previous lifestyle. Now it's more out in front now. You got sisters, you know what I'm saying? And now they're saying that, hey, in order for me to make this kind of money, Cardi B made it. You know what I'm saying? And I'm happy my sister made it, but once again, cause and effect. What's the purpose for you putting you out in front like that? What are you portraying? Now, I'm pretty sure she has some great, she's kind of conscious to some degree, because she speaks about some strong topics, and she's just very vocal about it. She's not a stupid woman at all.
Right.
She's very
None
intelligent.
of them are.
None of them are. But once again, they're playing this game because they say, hey, it signs checks. It provides for my family.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So you look at that paradigm, you say, okay, if we're maintaining me, I ain't going to jeopardize it because I know that my people don't stick together. So you get that mindset. Or if I come this way, they're coming after me hard. Because they gave you examples of very powerful men. Bill Cosby was very powerful, had a lot of money, and they showed who had power. They destroyed that man, and mentioned everything.
That's right.
Minus all the schools he gave millions to keep going, and all the things that he taught in his programs. They dismissed that altogether, all because of something that was going on. And that culture of hypocrisy of Hollywood in the industry. They do drugs all the time. They know that. They got a casting couch. You know what that is. That all of a sudden this man was saying his guilty is infidelity. That's what he's guilty of. I'm not justifying anything he did wrong. Hey, sometimes we put ourselves in bad predicaments. But once again, this devil knows what you're doing. So once you get out of line, I got you. Here you go. Expose him. I control the media anyway. Expose him now. All his wrongs, expose him. All her wrongs, expose it.
And keep ours in the dark.
Yes, ma'am.
Wow. I believe we've run out of time. This is wow. That we can go on and on and on and on a topic such as this. Thank you so much. For coming and joining us here on the Empower Hour.
Always.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
We do this, family, each and every Wednesday from 2 to 3 p.m. Right here on the eLife Studios Network. You can find us on Facebook under the Empower Hour Talk Show. You can find all our uploaded episodes under YouTube, under Miss Free the People. That's spelled with an MS, Free the People. Definitely subscribe to us there. We're looking to get our numbers up. And we changed the theme up. We changed the topic up each and every week. So you never know what's in store until you tune in. So we hope that you will tune in again and share this platform with others. Tell them how they can find more, get more information about you and your platform as well.
If you're on Facebook, first and foremost, thank you, dear sisters, for this conversation. We pray that it can get enlightened, healthy conversation, that nobody's get caught in their feeling and don't get controversial, because this is a touchy subject. So these wonderful sisters are doing a phenomenal job bringing these kind of topics to the forefront, and they should have 1 million viewers based off the content, the things, and the spirit that they are trying to portray. And these are some very positive sisters. So thank you for having me here.
Thank you, Brother Vaughn.
And I'm also on Facebook. If you look on Brother Levon X, brother spelled out, Levon X, Community Reporting. That's my page there. You can find me there. Leave a comment on our sisters page and see what we can do productively. We're looking for positive comments, please, for us to grow. We can learn off of one another. So
yes,
thank you, dear sisters.
Thank you. All right, family. Until next time, take care of each other out there. Peace.